Hey everyone, Tracy here with the Oasis for Natural Healing. So tonight, hidden causes and your teeth may be the culprit and Blu Poo challenges. And what is it? And I'm getting a lot of like funny responses and questions about what the Blu Poo challenge is. So we're gonna answer any questions that you may have and how this can help. Well, first thing I want to talk, and this might be something that you guys don't even think about, on like why your symptoms are horrible, or why your symptoms keep coming back, or why you go to the doctor and they say, oh, you have X, Y, and Z, and they give you medication, but it helps, but it kind of doesn't. And you still have underlying symptoms, and it just kind of seems to be staying stagnant. And you just don't know where to go. And like, you think that maybe this is it. You're going to have to live like this for the rest of your life, or, oh gosh, what if it gets worse? And I'm sure that some of these thoughts have been creeping up into your mind and kind of wondering about these things. Well, it doesn't have to be like that. And one of the things, so it was very, very interesting today. So, and this is where I love muscle testing. So I actually had a patient earlier, and I didn't know that she had been missing a tooth, mind you. So I have a tooth chart, and like, to be honest, do I know where every single tooth is at? Do I know what exactly? That's why I have the tooth chart. It kind of helps me. But like, I don't look at it like, you know, um, like I haven't like memorized it per se. So yes, dirty little secret. I let the muscle testing kind of do its job, and then I kind of look at it afterwards. So because I don't want to influence like any answers or anything like that either. So I was muscle testing her, and this patient has been having like hormonal issues and some other things. And I'll show you guys what the tooth chart looks like. So the tooth chart, so this is like all the teeth in your mouth, and then each tooth in Chinese medicine. So each tooth is actually associated with like a particular organ, a particular gland, or different parts of the body. Okay. And so the interesting thing is that she didn't I did not realize she was actually missing a tooth, and she was actually coming up so for some issues and hormonal imbalances and things like that, and it was actually associated with her one tooth. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then we dug a little bit deeper, and we found out that there was hidden bacteria like in the gum line, in the jaw area where the tooth is. And so I was like, do you have any pain? And she's like, no. And I'm just like, well, and she's like, why? And I'm like, well, your tooth is actually coming up, as a culprit, and it's affecting, some of your female endocrine glands. And she goes, oh. And I said, and she's like, huh, that's odd. And she's like, no, I don't have any tooth pain. I said, well, it's this tooth and it's on the bottom. And she's like, oh, she goes, I actually had that one pulled out. I was like, no way, and we were kind of talking about that. And I said, well, what happened with the tooth? Because I'm like, you're coming up for bacteria. And she goes, oh my gosh. She goes, I had a root canal and I had an abscess, and it was actually coming up, like I had to have the tooth pulled because the abscess, and it got really, really infected. I'm like, no way. Well, there's bad bacteria that's still stuck in that jaw, and that's affecting some of your things and some of your symptoms, and it's affecting your overall health. And it must be like it must be tooth day or tooth week, because last week I had another patient that was having, a lot of toothache and stuff like that, and a lot of tooth pain, and some of her symptoms were like flaring up, and she was muscle testing for, I believe, parasites and what else? Parasites and bacteria and fungus in her jaw and around her tooth. And I started having her doing a water pick with some herbal tinctures that kills off parasites and fungus. And within a couple days, her pain was completely gone. Now, I still wanted her to go see, like, I recommend a holistic dentist. I still wanted her to see a dentist because I'm not a dentist. I don't play one on TV, and we want to make sure that there's nothing deeper going on. But your teeth can be a hidden thing and a hidden cause to why you have your symptoms. Your teeth is actually part of your digestive system, and it's your first barrier to everything. If you have an overgrowth or an improper, so your mouth is supposed to have a good microbiome. If your mouth does not have a good microbiome, you cannot fight off infection. You cannot digest food well. You can't detox properly because, believe it or not, there's certain enzymes that will actually help to break down toxins as they enter your mouth. There are certain enzymes and certain good bacteria that will fight infection. And so if you do not have these good if you do not have a good balanced microbiome, meaning good bacteria in your mouth, and it's just bad bacteria or fungus or whatever, then you're constantly swallowing this bad bacteria. Your body can't, your immune system just cannot work properly. So it was kind of interesting about that. So yeah, I love muscle testing. I think it's like one of the best things out there because it literally just finds hidden causes all over the place that is just missed by Western practices. And it's unbelievable. So, and then I had another patient today as well, also having teeth issues. And well, she wasn't having any pain, but the tooth that was coming up, and upon further investigation, that tooth she's been having problems walking. And it's just like peeling layers of an onion, right? So as layers start healing, new layers and new projects can show up. Well, this is her new layer, is her teeth. And she's been having problems walking. And this particular tooth has a lot to do with connective tissue and things like that, which can, if that's being affected, you're not going to have good mobility, balance. Your connective tissue and your muscles and your joints and things like that are just not going to function optimally. So, and she's got parasites and chemicals, and so she's going to be doing water pick. Sorry, I think I might have said neti pot nasal wash before. We've been doing a lot of those too lately. But a water pick, and she's going to be doing a water pick, and you don't want to do it every single day. It depends on the person. So I'll muscle test to find out how often the person needs it. Typically, it's a couple times a day, or I mean, a couple times a week. She's testing to do it 4 times a week. My other patient, 3 times a week. You don't want to do it every single day because you can actually go overboard and do too much. But usually it's like a little bit of food grade hydrogen peroxide. We muscle test to see like what tinctures. So a lot of times it's like the liquid supplements from Cellcore or the liquid ones from Systemic Formulas. They have a lot of good liquid ones that you can add into your water pick to kill off bad bacteria, to support gut microbiome and oral microbiome and things like that. So I'll have them use that with, if they test for it, usually food grade hydrogen peroxide, and they do that a couple times a week, and it works like a charm. It is wonderful. But yeah, so your teeth are actually associated with different organs and glands and can be associated with different symptoms. So if your symptoms are not getting better, it might be from your teeth, and we can actually muscle test you to figure out, like, and if it's not your teeth, then we can find out like other hidden causes too that are just being missed. Because if you have a symptom, there's always an underlying cause. You should not have any symptoms whatsoever. And getting into the gut, so a lot of times we can have gut imbalances, which can cause a whole slew of issues. Gut problems can cause mental health issues. So there's actually more serotonin, which is your happy hormones. There's more serotonin receptor sites in your gut than there is in your brain, believe it or not. So if your gut microbiome's imbalanced, you can wind up with brain fog, memory issues. You can wind up with anxiety, depression, even headaches. Your gut is responsible for your immune system, inflammatory responses, and just so many other things. Your gut microbiome, because again, if it's imbalanced, you can't digest nutrients. And every single organ needs proper nutrients. Otherwise, it's not going to function properly. So that means heart health, brain health, kidney health, like everything is relying on the gut to be able to work properly. So we are going to be doing the Blu Poo challenge. Okay. So yes, it sounds kind of fun. And if you guys have any questions, I'm hoping that I can see your chats or your questions in the comments and things like that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the comments. So the Blu Poo challenge, why do you want to do it? Well, this is actually for anybody. Okay. Even if you're going to the bathroom daily, we want to make sure that it's like yesterday's poop, okay, coming out. Because just because you're going daily doesn't mean that you're properly digesting your food all the way, all right, or properly. Technically, your transit time should be about 12 to 24 hours. And so what the Blu Poo challenge does is it's a capsule and it's all natural. It uses blue spirulina, which is a plant base, and it dyes your blue or your poop blue. And we can get tons of information about your gut health, which then gives us an overall information about your overall health. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a webinar coming up. Okay. So on November 4th, at 7 p.m. It's free to register. It's a free webinar to give more insight on what the Blu Poo challenge does, how it can give really great insight on your overall health, your gut health, and so much more. So I highly encourage you to join us. I will be posting the QR link, so QR code to register for the Blu Poo challenge. So it's a free webinar on Zoom, and join us. So it's all natural. It's a really good, simple, inexpensive way to find out like what's going on with your body. But the webinar is free. So if you want to find more information, please join us for the webinar. It's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, November 4th. All right. And then the QR code will be in the comment section. So hope to see you guys there. You don't have to be a patient. This is open for anybody who wants just a little bit more information. I was going to say inflammation. Anybody who wants more information, invite your friends, invite your family. It'd be kind of like a fun challenge to do for the whole entire family. So, all right. Well, hopefully you join. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a good night, guys.